Hello and welcome to Giant Mess, a super sloppy sports and entertainment podcast that's hosted by a Giant Mess. That's me, the real cinch, Neal Lynch. I'm a former fourth-string college quarterback and mediocre middle relief pitcher with an overpriced film and media studies degree. Now I'm a single dad who loves to talk Giants football, Mets baseball, movies, TV, and comedy. On today's episode, we got a mega episode about life. I need to catch you up on life. It's been a while since I told you about my stupid life. Yeah, last time I talked to you guys about life was July 4th. So I'm going to catch you up on everything that happened since then. There's a whole lot. Their first ever lamb roast. Almost buying a house. So, without further ado, let us proceed. Hey, what's up? How's it been? How's it going? I think I'm going to use this time to fill you in because things got away from me in terms of recording episodes about my life. Not that my life is that interesting or that anyone wants to hear about it, but there's some funny anecdotes here and there, right? So, the last time that we had an episode about life, it was right after 4th of July. I had a 4th of July weekend where I just got mashed potato brain, turned into a noodle, as Dave Portnoy would say. I was coming off a pretty hellacious trip for a guy that's mid-40s, about to turn mid-40s. So that took a lot out of me, that 4th of July weekend, and it showed in those episodes that I ended up recording and putting out following that, where I was trying to catch everyone up because I hadn't done I went from basically having someone that I could go do stuff with to not having anyone to go do stuff with. And so I wasn't doing a lot of stuff, at least not a lot of fun stuff that y'all would want to hear about. So, but I figure enough's enough. I've had enough happen that I think it could come out into a decent episode or 2 or 3. So let's give it a whirl. Yeah. The rest of July, I mentioned the first ever lamb roast. At this point, I was still looking at houses. My God, hilarious in retrospect that I was looking at houses. And it just, I've talked about looking at houses for months now, or months leading up to August. I was basically seeing a house or 2 or more per week, for months on end, 3-4 months on end. And it just, every house, there was only one house that really stood out to me. And I almost made an offer on it. I came very close to making an offer on it. And again, in retrospect, looking back, ecstatic that I did not put an offer in on that friggin' house, because I would be in a shit ton of trouble with everything that's happened and gone down since then. But one of these houses had like one of the weirdest layouts I've ever seen. I don't know what. It's interesting, like houses built in the 50s have good bones, right? Such good bones. Cover of Skeleton Illustrated for how good their bones are. And I don't know what people, but the people in the 50s, they just led a different life. And I'm sure, like, what is it? We're now 70 years later from the 50s. I'm sure 60 or 70 years from now, people in the future will be in their pod, their hydro pod or their oxygen pod, whatever pod heals them and makes them healthier. And they'll be like scoffing about how people lived current day. I'm sure that will happen, but I can't wrap my head around what the fuck these developers, contractors, architects were thinking with a lot of these houses in the 50s. It's like solidly built, weirdest layout in the world. Just like, what? I would have to go through my daughter's bedroom to get to my office. That was the weird layout there. So it's like, if I wanted to go do a little work in the office late night or something after she falls asleep, I had to creep through her room and then creep back. So, ultimately I don't even know what the fuck you'd use that room for. It would just be like a gigantic closet for her or like a playroom for her. And then you'd have to just keep the desk in the bedroom, which they say not to mix sleep with business. Unless you're in the sleep business, I guess. That makes sense. If you're Casper or Sealy, Purple. Felix. So in the asking price, it's like there's this fun little game in real estate where we're gonna give you the listing price, and then we're gonna laugh at you for offering that, and it's considered rude and inappropriate. I mean, like, what the actual F? What do you mean? This is the listing price. I would like to buy it for that price. Oh my God. Seriously? That is so rude. Like, what? Why is it rude to make an offer at the listing price? It's like you go into a store and you're like, hey, I'd like this. And you take it to the register, the cashier rings it up and goes, yeah, that'll be $19.99. And you're like, but it says $14.99 on the package. And like it's advertised as $14.99. So you're only going to offer $14.99? We're getting offers for $15.99, $16.99, $17.99. It's just like, I don't know. Shoot for the fucking stars then. Why so you're lowballing me. What is the tactic here? Why is everything going over asking price and listing price? I don't know. They say, from the limited that I've read, it's like the demand is down. There's not enough houses. And so, supply is down. Sorry. Jesus. I got like a D+ in econ and it's showing big time. Supply is way down. So the supply is not increasing and the demand is going up and up and up and up because people don't want to live in cities. And I can understand why. It's a hellscape. No offense to anyone who lives in a city. I lived near a city for a very long time. I guess you could call where I lived in Hoboken a small city. But, just I don't ever need to really go to the city again. I don't think. I don't know. No offense to cities. No disrespect. So, I don't even know. Oh, so supply way up, demand, supply way down. Come on now. You got this. Supply way down, demand way up. And so that's why everything's going way over asking price. And if you can't even make an offer at listing price, it's just such a weird whatever. So, I'm probably just going to rent for the rest of my life. And I know there are all kinds of graphs and charts like 30 years from now, you're going to regret that. And you're going to be, look at all the when you own. It's just like, I don't know, man. Like I've got probably another, 11, 12 years in this area. I don't see myself staying in the area past when my daughter graduates from high school. Like maybe I'll stick through college. So that's another, 15, 16 years. And then if you see my fat ass in New Jersey when I am 59, 60, when I'm 60 years old, if I'm still in New Jersey, I don't know, man. I think I might have done something wrong or something went incredibly right. Those are the only two options. It's either gone like nightmarishly bad, like life devastatingly bad, or it's gone so right. Which one's it gonna be? Which one is it gonna be, Mario? Based on previous experience and history, my best educated guess would be that things will go left yet again. and sideways. So, my goal has always been to outlive my dad. So let's see if that happens. Yeah. So the first ever lamb roast that I went to was on the day that, the anniversary of my father passing. My family, my mom's side of the family, my mom's side of the family got together to, in Salvo, North Carolina, and like a beach town in North Carolina, Outer Banks area, I want to say. It was, my mom, my uncle, one of my uncles, my aunt, my sister, her husband, basically my mom's side of the family getting together to kind of be like a celebration type thing for my father, the anniversary of my father's death and passing. And I didn't go. And, it's a regret for sure. I regret it. At the time I had a job. So I was like, it's such a long drive. It would have been like, basically, did I have her that weekend? I might have had my daughter that weekend. Let me just real quick check the cal. So it's July too. So I had work July 10th, 11th, 12th, right? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So, hey, Neal, why don't you just take those off? And it's like, well, my family wasn't in getting together until Saturday. That started on Saturday the 13th and it went through Wednesday the 17th of the following week. So it's like I had, there's one of those situations where like the custody schedule sucks or didn't work out. I had my daughter and I was like, well, we can drive down. Flying is impossible these days. Spirit is going bankrupt and I 1,000% take credit for that. You're welcome, everyone. My boycott finally put them out of business. I stood by that boycott through thick and thin. They offered some ridiculous deals and I said, nay, no thanks. I know exactly what you motherfuckers are going to do. And I'm not going to be a victim anymore. I'm not going to let you do this to me anymore, you abusive fucks. So to drive, and the only other airline I think is like United out of Newark and American Airlines out of Philly. And it's United in Newark is just like, we own this shit, motherfucker. Like we are the airport. You can either fly us for $1,000 for a 1 hour flight, or you can take Spirit for 99 cents and get upcharged out the ass for every little thing. And it will be delayed or canceled and they won't offer you anything in return. So you can either go with garbage or a golden plane covered in diamonds where everyone gets a hot tub. Yeah. So I was like, I can't fly anymore. I just can't. I mean, I looked into like, there's every time I drive up to Rhode Island, I see these billboards for some airline where it's like direct to Myrtle Beach for like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, where the hell is this airline? I never heard of you. Where have you been all my life? And it turns out, well, they fly out of Connecticut. That's a solid 2 hour drive, or Delaware, which is like an hour 15. So I was like playing with the idea of like driving down, you drive an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half possibly to Delaware. Make sure you get there 2 hours behind. So it's 3.5 hours and that's another 2 hours flight, and then tack on an hour, half an hour for the bags. And it's just like, all right, I'm driving. So to drive down to Salvo, North Carolina would have been like 8-10 hours. It's at this point, the last couple of times I've driven down to like South Carolina, this is North Carolina. We're talking about North Carolina, South Carolina. It's, it's taken me almost 12 hours. I don't know what is happening. The overnight drives can be a test of will. It'll push you to the limit. You will walk along the razor's edge. And, the last quarter of that drive can make you see things and hear things. And, your mind goes to weird places, but that drive is like zero traffic. If maybe there might be construction because a lot of the, which is the smart thing to do construction overnight. But like, I can do it in like 9 hours, maybe 9.5 hours, that drive to South Carolina. But it's been almost 12 hours the past couple times. So it doesn't matter when you leave. I mean, I have not done the overnight in a long time. The downside to the overnight drive is like you arrive in the morning when everyone's waking up and you're like, all right, good night. Like I'm now going to sleep for the next 4 or 5 hours. So even though you make up for the drive is, 2 to 3 hours less, you then have to sleep for another 5 hours to make up for it. So I don't freaking know, dude. Yeah. So that was, I thought to drive down there on Saturday for 8 hours, I don't have my daughter for like that Monday or Tuesday. So we'd have to drive back on Sunday. You know what I mean? So it's like we're driving another 8 to 10 hours on Sunday to come back. And it's like, oh, well, you could have taken off on Monday and Tuesday. And it's like, yeah, but even then, like my daughter was supposed to be with her mother and I only had so many vacation days and I was going to use the rest of the vacation days on XYZ. But this is more important, Neal. Yeah, I hear you. Believe me. It was a long guilt trip. I did go on a guilt trip. Didn't go on the trip to Salvo, North Carolina to celebrate my father. But I did go on a long guilt trip. That was cool. So, I guess I could have been like, hey, do you want to switch these 2 days or 3 days the previous week and being like, I'll pick them up somewhere else and then I can have her Monday, Tuesday. Yes, I could have done that. Could I have worked from North Carolina during the day? Possibly. Why am I just now thinking of this shit? Anyway. And then to stress about vacation days, when, literally I get canned 3 weeks later. I'm like, well, now you have all the vacation days. Every day's a vacation. Spoiler alert. So yeah, I ended up going to my first ever lamb roast. It was in the Eve. This was the same guy who did the pig roast, not the pig in the box roast in South Carolina. This is the pig roast from last year where I'm more, that was that was an eye opener, that pig roast, mostly because like it's just like seeing the eyes of the pig just like come out of its sockets and just like pointy and white. And I was just like, oh, is the earth about to open up? Am I about to see Beelzebub, Satan himself, the Dark Lord? Because this is some evil looking, nasty, gnarly stuff. So I don't eat lamb. I don't think I've ever had lamb. And because it is a lamb roast, I felt like a little more compelled, to be like, oh, I guess I have to eat lamb. Like, my buddy who's hosting it, I think I talked about him, but brief reminder, brief refresher. He used to look, or still does look, a lot like Chris O'Donnell, played Robin in Batman and Robin. Also, what was that movie with Al Pacino where he's like, ooh-ah, ooh-ah? Chris O'Donnell. I'm pretty sure everyone knows him. But he's now also looking more like, when he has a beard, my buddy, when he has a beard, looks like Ryan Fitzpatrick. So if you are a football fan, follow football, he is one of the panelists, co-hosts, I guess, I don't know what you would call it, on the Prime Video broadcast team. Ryan Fitzpatrick went to Harvard. He's like 6'2", just kind of looks like a normal looking guy, but he has this humongous beard, and has had quite the career, post-football career, in terms of like endorsement sponsorships. He's a cool dude. And my buddy looks, when he has a beard, looks just like him. So that'll give you a good visual. He's married to a Greek woman. And so this is the third time they've hosted this lamb roast. And this is my first time ever going. And I was like, I'm like thinking about, I'm taking things into consideration because, my ex-girlfriend watched a documentary on Netflix about fucking meat or whatever. And so I agreed to go vegetarian and then eventually vegan with her. And so I found that it was sustainable, other than cheese and milk were tough. Any kind of dairy was just like, oh man, I really want that. So I didn't go, there were some days I was a hundo vegan. Some days I was not a hundo vegan, but I pretty much gave up meat for a very long time and still kind of I'm nowhere near where I used to be in terms of meat consumption. I mean, Jesus God, I've talked about this, but I used to order breakfast wraps, for delivery. And it was like, yes, the wrap, it's always like the heart stopper or like, cardiac arrest or, something like that. And it has like ham, sausage, bacon, just like all the meats. And yeah, so it's like, oh, it's weird. My was it A1C and triglyceride levels are through the roof. I wonder why. Oh, for anyone who's wondering what I'm drinking, I like to think of this as like a holiday party. Just having a little holiday party. I'm recording this Tuesday, December 17th, 2024, AD. And on Friday or Saturday, I'm going to go down to South Carolina for Christmas. And so I thought it'd be fitting. I had like half a bottle, maybe a little bit more, half a bottle of peppermint schnapps. I threw that in my big old cow. I don't even know, cup. I thought it was a cow cup. Maybe it's a camo cow cup. So I dumped that in and poured a little White Claw in there. So it's a holiday party, y'all. To recap the second half of the year, sort of, kind of, it's the last 5/12 of the year. Anyway, this lamb roast, Jesus. My buddy, so kind of looks like Chris O'Donnell, kind of looks like Ryan Fitzpatrick. His wife is Greek, and they are the ones I if you have been a long time listener, loyal listener, you would know that they went to high school together in the area, didn't really hang out, were kind of friends, but maybe not really close friends, and graduated from high school, went their separate ways, went to different colleges, and then reconnected while he was working in like London, I think, and married and 2 kids. So don't give up on your dreams. But so I don't know that I know a ton of Greek people, but I know the Greeks are pretty strong-willed, I believe, and proud, and not blunt, but maybe direct, and like living life to the fullest and stuff like that, right? So in my head, I'm thinking, shit, man. Like at the pig roast, I had some pig. Ultimately regretted it. Could have been cooked a little bit more. I'm sorry to my friend. I'm sorry. Okay. I have a trouble, confrontation and conflict. I think it gave me something that made my stomach go whoop whoop. So I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to have lamb, like, am I going to have to eat lamb? Like, I hope that like the Greekness doesn't come out. You know what I mean? Like, oh, like a Stavros Halkias, Halkias Stavros. He's Greek. And I just imagine him, going to like his lamb roast and being like, oh, I won't have the lamb. It's just like, I'm going to get roasted. So I was like, I'm going to have to eat lamb, and I don't know if I'm going to like it, and I don't know if I want it. And I was also bringing my daughter. So the pig roast, I didn't bring my daughter. It was just me and a bunch of dudes hanging out and duding out. And it was, I mean, the event itself was awesome. It's just the pig, I think, was tough. So my daughter was coming and I was like, I was kind of freaked out at the pig roast by the pig's eyes coming out of its sockets, like, looking like like a like a very graphic version of like Porky Pig. Like if Porky, I don't think Porky Pig's into this kind of stuff or that he ever did it, but like if how like old school cartoons, if like a male cartoon character saw a hot female cartoon character, their eyes would be like boing, 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 boing. Like the pig roast, it was like a very like David Fincher version of that cartoon character's eye being like boing, boing, boing. So very graphic, very gnarly. And I was like, I don't know if I want to subject my daughter to this. She's going to freak out and like cry and make a scene. And luckily, I don't think she went anywhere close to that thing. But I remember we got there and, she immediately like took off her socks and shoes and threw them somewhere in a tree, running around barefoot. But I was, I didn't really know a ton of people there. I know my buddy, obviously, but there were some of the guys from the pork roast that I met, and I kind of talked to, but it was like, I forget their names. Damn it. So it's just a lot of people that I just don't know. So I was basically just, I'm going to hover around the food. I'm going to, responsibly drink, like have a drink, have a sparkling water because it kind of looks like an alcoholic drink. I mean, look at this shit, man. You see it. They look very similar. So I was like, at least I can, I can have a drink, but also, chase that with a full can of sparkling water or seltzer or whatever. So there's not a lot of talking. And so I spent a lot of time just watching my buddy and his wife just being like, where's this? Why isn't this happening? What's going on? Like, didn't you grab? I asked you for this, but you don't have it. I was over here, but where's your this? And this is happening, but how come of this? And it's just like, and I'm standing there kind of like, because I've been there. I had a little smirk going on, but I wanted to like shoot a flare into the sky and being like, and I was trying to be like, hey, how can I help? What do you need help with? What do you need me to get? Because I know that I've been in that situation where I'm hosting a party and, we're just either not prepared or we didn't coordinate or, stuff happens. And people would come up and be like, can I help? And so I'd be like, I always say no at first when someone's like, can I help? And just say yes. Just say yes. People are asking, can they help? Because look like you need help. So just let them help. Instead of saying no. It's almost like that every movie scene where it's like a guy gets knocked down or he can't walk and he's trying to learn how to walk again and like falls and the person tries to help him and help him up and he's like, don't help me up. I got this. I could do it on my own. It's my life. So I was standing there kind of offering to help, like, hey, what do you need me to get? What can I get? And so he'd be like, I need this. And so I'd like go get it. And of course, by the time I got back, he already has another version of that. So, they ended up getting this like crazy upscale ice cream truck. It was like, it's, you think about ice cream trucks, most of the ice cream trucks that I've come across are like, there are crimes being committed in that van. Like the person driving it, probably a serial killer. Like I just think about Twisted Metal, that video game where, there was an ice cream truck, but it was like, it was a clown drove the ice cream truck and it had a version, like a mold of his head on like a spring and it was on fire. It was a good TV series. And I remember being addicted to the video game. But so it was not that kind of ice cream truck, kind of run down, like the music's playing, but it's like warped, like it wasn't like that. It was an upscale ice cream truck where it's like 6 sound system, like polished, gleaming, sparkling, clean, run by a person who doesn't look like they have a record. Like they have a video menu on the side of the freaking truck. What? A video menu. So I partook in that big time. That was nice. Of course, my daughter gets what she wants. Take that as you will, for what it's worth. But it's worrisome to me because it's just like I don't want her to think that she can just take advantage of people all the time. I mean, we live in a capitalist society, so you got to capitalize on that shit. But I'm hoping it just doesn't go to her head like, oh, I can get anyone to do anything. And then all these doors open. It's like you're going down a bad path. So she somehow managed to convince someone to get her an ice cream where it's like you could and as a dad, I feel like shit because I'm like, well, I have money. Like I can buy my daughter an ice cream. It's not like she came to me and said no. It's not like she's just a vagabond. Like she's not roaming the streets without a parent or legal guardian asking people for ice cream and standing in line for an ice cream truck. So I always feel weird when that happens. Like you just got this random person that you just met to buy you ice cream because you don't know where your dad is. Ugh. And it's like, she didn't look. She just didn't look. She just saw an ice cream truck, went up to someone and was like, I want ice cream. And they're like, where's your dad? And she's like, I don't know. Like, that's the worst answer you could possibly give. I ended up talking to an Australian couple for a very long period of time. One, because Australians are just inherently, naturally, organically interesting. It's like they could talk about fucking paint drying and I am ensconced and enthralled. So they were fun to talk to. I mostly talked to the dude. The wife seems like not into what I was getting into. Was kind of just standoffish a little bit. But obviously I had to bring up Bluey. How could I not? Bluey's Australian. Daughter loves Bluey, watches it nonstop. And, so I basically, he's trying to talk about like his job, like adult things. And I'm like, so in Bluey, season 2, episode 4, Bluey talks about a butterdaba. Is that real? Does that really happen in Australia? Do they really drive on the other side of the road? Is the steering wheel on the right side? Is it, like everything that I've seen in Bluey, I'm going to ask if it's real to this guy. He must have been like, this person is a legitimate moron. But he ended up telling me that like there's some website or like you can get Bluey episodes, right as they air, right after they air, because it initially airs in Australia and then it takes a while to air on Disney and then it takes a while to go on Disney Plus or I don't know, Nickelodeon, whatever. So he's like, yeah, just go to this website, mate, and you can see him before anyone else. And I'm like, I don't know that I'm that hard up for a new Bluey. Like it makes me feel like doo-doo. We've been over this, but apparently they're moving back to Australia. Lived in Australia. I don't think they met in Australia. Met in New York City. Now living in New Jersey, going back to Australia. And like, talk about the school systems there. Like, their school year aligns with the actual calendar year. So like, I guess the school year starts in January. And then they must have a summer break or what they call a winter break because it's actually winter there when it's summer here, right? So it's actually warm there, January to June. And then June, they have a winter break. June, July, maybe July, August, winter break. And then they come back for the second half of the year, September to December. Making a lot of sense. I don't know. Making a lot of sense. Those Aussies. It was funny. I kind of ended up like doing that thing where there's like 2 or 3 people talking and they've kind of formed a semicircle. And it's like, all right, I think I'm kind of standing near them. I think I can just slowly gravitate into and then kind of close off the circle. And then I'm now part of the group. It's like, it's a very weird move of mine. And I assume a lot of people do it, but it's like, I'm standing here by myself. I'm not talking to anyone. I'm just kind of oscillating fan going back and forth, looking at just people. I don't know. I'm just looking for whatever. And so, that kind of opens up where it's like, oh, these people are kind of talking near me. I'm like arm's length away, maybe a little bit more. So it wouldn't be that crazy if I just slowly kind of snail-like pace slither my way over into their circle. And of course, and then, eventually they're like, they notice me just standing there and looking at them and listening. And they're like, where did this guy come from? When did he become part of this crew? Hi, I'm so-and-so. Who are you? Like, that's my move. Just wait for them to acknowledge that I am new and there should be an introduction. But this one woman appeared to be by her lonesome, but her daughter was there. I don't know if she was married or had a boyfriend, but he wasn't there. She was pretty much, riding solo with her daughter, I think. Did she have a daughter? I don't know. So notice that she also has problems making eye contact. Interesting. Maybe there's a match to be made. Anyway, fast forward to us in line at the ice cream truck and like talking about what flavors we like and what we think we're going to go with. And then I mentioned, she said she worked at Facebook, and I was like, oh yeah, I somehow got to the point where I said I was really into YouTube. She immediately stopped the conversation, shut it down, and left. It's just like, what do they got going on over there at Facebook headquarters? Are you guys in like a dark room with like a projector, and they might tape your eyes open? Like, what do they got? What are they programming you with over there at Meta? Freaking Meta. So yeah, that was the first lamb roast. My daughter was just running like crazy. She just is a very lovable. I mean, she's very lovable, obviously, but she's lovey-dovey, like hugging. I love saying I love you to people she just met. Where I was like, we need to dial that back a little bit. Okay. What is that person's name? If you don't know it, that's probably, they don't get it. I love you unless they just saved your life. It's the first thing out of your mouth. Like, okay. So, but she's like, would go up and hug my buddy's wife. And it was like, when can we see her again? When can I stay over? When can I live with them? It's like, okay. Yeah. So she always makes like new best friends everywhere she goes. If she meets a kid she's never met before, it's like, oh, that's my best friend. We're best friends now. Like, oh, interesting. Huh. It's like speed dating for 6-year-olds, 5-year-olds. So yeah, there was this friggin', we had the lamb roast, pretty good, pretty successful. As far as like my daughter having fun, I know that she was basically out like a light on the drive back, which was nice. But hour drive there, hour drive back. I was like, hey, do you want me to bring anything when we're going there? I just remember this. My buddy's like, yeah, like a 6-pack of beer and like a bottle of wine, maybe. Or I think he said, or a bottle of wine or something. I was like, well, okay. In my head, like I want to get something for him and I want to get something for her. Because I know, I mean, I don't know for 100% fact, but I would guess that they don't really drink the same things because he is more of a Scotch brown liquor type guy. And I don't know that his wife really digs that or does that. And maybe she does here and there, but ultimately it's not her favorite thing. So I ended up getting like these beers that no one drank except me. Land Sharks, maybe? Or it might have been something akin to Land Sharks, like a summery kind of beer that wasn't too light. And then I was like, she's Greek. She'll probably appreciate Greek wine. So what are the best Greek wines? And I remember I get it and I show up and I specifically made it a point to hand the bottle to her. And I'm like, here you go. And she's like, oh, a Greek wine. And I was just like, oh, I picked the wrong one. Cool. So, but yeah, the lamb roast, ultimately, I'm glad I went, but I think I should have gone to see my family in Salvo, North Carolina. Come on, raise up. Because they were sharing photos and like they had this like crazy awesome house like right on the water. My brother-in-law had a drone and he attached a video camera to it. So he posted it on Facebook. But like these videos of the drone video of like flying towards, my family on the porch, them saying waving hi and him going out over the water and like diving down. It looked really cool. So it's on me, but you only get so many vacation days. I guess you get creative with sick and personal days, but so there was this heat wave. Not sure if you remember. There was a heat wave. How can I forget? So my daughter had been going to summer camp, dropping her off at summer camp, picking her up. But because of the heat wave, there was concerns about like, should the kids be outside? And a lot of parents decided like, okay, maybe this isn't a good idea to have them outside. So her mother, my ex, signed her up for like a camp or something like that, classes at Gymland. Gymland, big ass gymnasium for gymnastics that is connected to right next to Iceland, which is a skating rink where freshman or sophomore year in high school, I was skating and I'm not a good skater. And I was going way too fast and I ended up accidentally bumping into this one guy who I guess was the hockey coach at my high school. And he threatened to decapitate me. That was fun. And apparently my daughter's mother, ex, would take like figure skating lessons there. So brought back some memories, both bad and bad. But Gymland, so we go there, drop her off. And there is and I don't think this is just specific to Gymland. I think this happens at like pretty much all the gymnasiums. It stank. It's got a stench to it. There is an odor the moment you open those doors and walk in. And it's just this huge open space. I want to say maybe not the length of a football field, but damn near close. I would say, yeah, a football field, just about. And it's just got all kinds of sections and areas, balance beams and fucking pole vault? No. Pommel horse? I don't know. But like pits with foam in it and like, springboards and floor routines and all kinds of stuff going on. And I mean, it's akin, I guess you would say it's similar to if you were to walk into a hockey locker room. And maybe that's why hockey players and gymnasts, is that a thing? I think that's a thing. I think it's because of the smell. Because I remember going into when my dad was like the doctor for I don't know if I'd ever went into the Princeton University hockey locker room. I might have been outside it. I was only 5. But when he was with the Providence Bruins as a team doctor, I think I got near the locker room and I was just like, ooh, stings the nostrils. So I wonder if that's why you would see a lot of hockey players with gymnasts and they get into some serious stuff in the bedroom. That's where my mind goes. That's where my mind went was, okay, I can't imagine being that not having some kind of subliminal of impact or effect on, your psyche and your mindset and your mentality, where it's like you are doing this thing and you like doing this thing. And there are things that happen that are part of that thing. Like you really love gymnastics. You love doing that. What else do you love doing? You probably love having sexual relations. So does it carry over? What are we talking about here? I don't know. I've never hooked up with a gymnast or a hockey player, believe it or not. But I would imagine like how can you, I mean, like gymnasts get started at a very early age. My daughter is 6 and, this might be now that I'm thinking more about it, maybe I should put a stop to this. Like maybe I shouldn't let her keep doing gymnastics at Gymland. But I don't know why. I have a feeling that like because you are in that environment where you are practicing for hours on end, day after day after day for months and years, that your mind doesn't make some kind of association or connection with like, okay, I'm getting physical and I have this this aroma that is just swimming around the old bean as I'm doing this thing that I like. I might not like the smell, but I get used to it. And then it's like I crave it when I'm doing something physical. Oh boy. So what kind of kinky stuff, what kind of fetishes are gymnasts and hockey players into? My assumption is that, yeah, of all the athletes, maybe hockey players and gymnasts are the kinkiest. Just a theory. I ended up watching. Oh, and one of the instructors at Gymland looks not identical to, but damn close to Zendaya. And it doesn't matter how many. I mean, we go every Saturday. It's been a thing because her mother ended up signing her up for gymnastics classes for like basically the entire school year every Saturday morning at 11. Which I actually, I guess I don't hate the smell. Am I coming around on the smell now? Am I going to get kinky as fuck? Maybe. But, I don't mind going. It's a nice experience to watch her get to do her thing. And seems like she's really into it and likes it. I think she still has that kind of fear, anxiety element going on, but she's overcoming that. And, that's the main takeaway here is that even though she might not become a gymnast, that she would get the confidence, because I think confidence is still lacking, which shocking considering like how confident and cocky I am. So if she can learn confidence and assuredness through this gymnastics, then great, grand, wonderful. So I don't mind going. But yeah, it's broad. This woman, every time I go, I'm just like, is that Zendaya? Like, is this like an undercover boss situation where she's filming some kind of secret documentary that we don't know about, and that's really Zendaya? So yeah, there's the Zendaya teacher. Brie my daughter is always. Her teacher is very tall, lean, and is more on top of things in terms of like, correct yourself before you wreck yourself. That kind of approach to coaching and instructing and teaching. Like, that's not how we do it. We don't do it that way. And like telling the kiddos what to do. And then there's a dude. It's funny because like they end up splitting up the girls and the boys. So the girls, of which there are many, are split up into two groups. One with the one female Zendaya, and the other one with the tall lean. And then the boys, of which there are 3, 2, maybe 4, go with the male instructor. I was like, man, and they're young kids too. The instructors, the teachers, they have to be in like, I want to say they're, college age, maybe high school age, but I would think college age or like right out of high school or college, 18 to 24 type range, maybe younger. I don't know. And I was like, of all the gigs or jobs, like I just didn't have a job in high school. I know I've been called a spoiled brat enough times. And you know what? Add another one on it. If you want to throw it out there, you want to put that on me, that evil on me. Okay, I'll take it because you're not the first. I didn't have a job in high school, and the excuse was always, well, I play sports. So it's like, I have practice and I have this and I have that. And it's like, realistically, I probably could have worked. So I didn't have a job in high school. But in college, I definitely feel like there were opportunities, especially after my sophomore year, to have a job on campus. And I knew I had plenty of friends that worked, easy jobs. But ultimately, like, you know, I like to party. And I can't imagine like having to get up even like for an 11 a.m. class, which that's not their first class of that day. They're probably there when it opens at like, I don't know if they have classes at 8 or 9, but they definitely have a class before us. So it's at least 10 a.m. But even 10 a.m. feels like, I don't know. I want to rage on Friday night and I want to sleep it off Saturday morning. So, to the ability to have a job like that, must stink, but it also, well, I mean, does literally stink that Gymland smells. But to be able to get to do that where it's like you stretch, like you get to watch, but you get to do like a nice stretch. And I was like, man, they must be so relaxed and like calm at the end of the day, because they're not doing like the exercises and the routines that they're coaching, right? But they lead the stretching at the beginning of the class. So I was like, if they stretch at 10 a.m. and they stretch at 11 a.m. and they probably have a class at 12 p.m., like if you stretch for 15 minutes every hour, like of the day for 7 hours, 8 hours, you must be so relaxed and calm. If only we could do that at our jobs. Like, they say that sitting and being sedentary is the equivalent of smoking like 8 packs of cigarettes a day. It's like, all right, GFY, dude. I don't believe that, but fake news. But like, I understand it's not good for you. And there are plenty of times where I stand up and I'm like, oh, what the yay. So yeah, I'm stiff and, things are crack-a-lacking. So I get it. But then I watched like that series Sunny on Apple TV, and it was like the Japanese, man, they got it right. They have got it down pat. Like she ends up going to the office where her missing husband worked, and there was a scene where like they're all in cubicles, right? This big open space, all in cubicles. It's like literally corporate hell. But every so often there's like this big, like a Big Brother big screen, from 1984, where someone comes on and it was like, all right, it's time to work out. And then so they all get up, and I assume it happens every hour. They all get up and it's almost choreographed. Like, we're going to do, this stretch, this move. And I was like, and I know I'm watching, I'm like, I know this is supposed to be ridiculous and silly, absurd and funny, and maybe this does happen in Japan and people are going to scoff at it or whatever, but I dig this. Like, if someone was like, all right. And what's odd is it kind of did happen at Condé Nast, now that I think about it, but it was like, all right, we're going to do a plank for 5 minutes. And I'm like, that feels a bit much. Like, do we have to go from sitting at 0% to like not doing jack squat to now we're doing a plank for 5 minutes? At my best, I could do a plank for a minute. So I had always turn it down, but it was like, let's have this break. I dig this break. I like this break, but let's not do a plank for 5 minutes. Fucking A. So yeah, that's Gymland. Gymland. But I guess my point there with the job was like, if you're going to have a job where maybe you are a little hungover from the night before, I understand like the noise might get to you, like the kids like being out of control might get to you, but the fact that you just get to like stretch and like no one's flying at like 200 miles per hour. I'm going to break their neck, I don't think. I mean, there were some times where I'm looking at them on the balance beam and I'm like, one wrong move. But Gymland. The ages go, I mean, I can't tell what the ages go up to, but it's like definitely like, even the next age group up, it's like, whoa, impressive stuff. Like the things that they're able to do. And even like the high school kids, I assume the college kids, I don't know. Like on the, not the rings, double bars. That's not what it's called. The high bar, the low bar, they kind of fling between the two. And it's so funny because I'll like, you can't help but watch once in a while because it's interesting. Like, it's tough to watch a bunch of 6-year-olds struggle to do a somersault. It's just like, I don't think I'm going to see a lot of high flying action on this side of the gymnasium today. But so I'll check in on like the more advanced gymnasts. And, I think back to when I was their age and it's like, there's no way I could do anything close to that shit. But it's because they started at such a ridiculously early age. But even like the next age group up, you're like, you already look like a legitimate gymnast. You are 8. What the hell? And you're able to do like handstands and like whatever. But what's interesting is after every, so they'll go through like a segment, I guess you call it, section, where it's like, we're just going to focus on this for the next 15 minutes, right? And I'll watch each of them go through, like, group of 3 or 4 go through, like run, jump, try and land, and like something will be off. Almost every time something was off. And it's like, and then to have the coach right there, every single move and action come in and like say something. I was thinking about that. I was like, that must be it must be kind of annoying and frustrating. That's like, you might even know what you did wrong, but you don't even get a chance to like say it. The guy's already over there like, this is what you did and you need to do this. And it's like, oh, okay. It's funny though. Like there are definitely the girls where it's like, okay, they are taking it very seriously. And then there are the girls where it's like, they'll do something and they mess up almost every time. And every time they think it's the funniest shit ever. They're just laughing because they're just like, I have no shots. This is all a joke. It's like, I vibe with that. I'm on your level. I'm on your page. Close Encounters of the Third Kind was in theaters over July, I guess, because it must have been an anniversary or something like that. And I thought about going, spoiler, shocker, I've never seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I know, believe me, because I have a film and media studies degree, every Tom, Dick, and Harry thinks that I should have seen every movie ever made. It's a little tough. But I guess, yeah, it was something like Close Encounters, which I guess has been cited or hailed as like one of the most important seminal sci-fi films of all time. And I'm a sci-fi fan, so like, how the hell have I not seen it? I don't know. It was playing in theaters. I almost bought a ticket to go see it, and I'm glad I didn't. Listen, it's Spielberg. Spielberg is pretty flawless. He can do no wrong, just about. I liked the majority of the film. I dug it. I watched it at home. It was on Prime Video. What I find to be really just crazy is Richard Dreyfuss plays this dude who's married to, what is the actress's name? She was super popular in the 70s and 80s. Totally forget it. Married to a wife, 3 kids, 3 boys. I think it's 3 boys. Might be 2 boys and a girl. And he just ends up being so fascinated with this mountain thing that he legitimately is like having a breakdown, or it appears like he's going nuts, where he's like, I need to build this thing made out of dirt in our living room. Like it looks like he's going insane. And the wife ends up leaving him. And you're like, I guess that kind of makes sense. Like everyone has their limit. Some people can tolerate more. Some people can tolerate less, I guess. It's all based on your tolerance levels. When you are married, you're committed, and that, that's, you need to commit, right? So part of me was like, I can't believe that she is just abandoning him like this and leaving him. But at the same time, he does appear to be dangerous. He does. He is not responding to anything that you're doing. At some point, you do have to think about your family's safety and security, whatever. So she takes off with the kids. and he doesn't care because he's so obsessed with this like huge mountain type thing that he keeps having visions about and doing drawings of and reconstructing with all kinds of different stuff, with, you know, playing with his food and doing that, you know. So I was like, oh man, she bailed, huh? And so I was like questioning that move, but then he ends up meeting a woman that has had similar visions and experiences, and so they bond over that. But then they like she has a daughter. I don't know where. I don't think she's married anymore. I don't think she has a husband or a boyfriend, but she has a son or daughter. The son or daughter like takes off one time because he's so like hypnotized or mesmerized by the light or a sound or a UFO, I forget. So he like, you know, she loses him. She meets up with Richard Dreyfuss, and it's like they end up like kissing. And I don't know if it's really falling in love or it was just like, wow, like that's what Richard Dreyfuss's character was craving and hungering for and thirsting for this entire time that he's been married, is a deeper form of connection, or a connection over common interests or passion or obsession. I don't, you know, I guess that was the takeaway there, was like, oh, well, he doesn't have any connection with his wife. And it's just like, well, then why did he get married to her? But then also, why did he have 3 kids together? I guess because, you know, back then it's just like, that's what you do. You get married and have a shit ton of kids in the 70s and into the 80s, you know. But it seemed like he was like not into the kids at all, not into the wife. It's just like, why did you have 3 if you're not into any of this? I guess it's like you just keep going thinking like, well, eventually things will turn around and I'll actually love my family. But I didn't get that. I don't know. I didn't get that vibe from him. And then to see him like kiss this woman, I was just like, but so you don't want your wife and kids back? And like, what? So that's just that. They never, and then eventually, you know, I hate to spoil what is soon to be, I think it's like the 40th, not the 40th anniversary. When the hell did it come out? In the 70s or 80s? 77. So it's going to be, you know, 50 soon. This wasn't even an anniversary. They might do this every July. Maybe. I don't know. Because it's not like unless I'm nuts. Yeah, 47th anniversary? Yeah. So I hate to spoil a 47-year-old movie. But he volunteers and ends up getting on the spaceship with the aliens so that they can, I don't know, with him. I don't know. But just like everything else that Spielberg has done, it's just spectacle out the ass, just like ambiance, moving, cinematic, visual, you know, moments are really exaggerated and hyped up and embellished. And so he's the master of that. And so you're drawn in by a lot of that. But like, you know, the aliens that come out, it's just like, those are kids in alien costumes, you know? So it's, I'm sure if I were, is it PG? If I was like 13 and I went to the theater and saw that, I would be like, oh my God, dude, have you been? Have you seen it? But now, having seen so many movies that have probably owe their existence to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, I watch it and I'm just like, I mean, there were definitely certain parts where I'm like, I'm trying to remind myself, holy, you know, damn, this is 1977. And you could have put this scene in a modern day sci-fi movie and it works. A lot of the scenes. But there are some of the scenes where it's like the visual effects are tough. But I mean, even when the spaceship arrives, like I thought that was pretty impressive. So there's definitely a lot of visual and sci-fi effects where it's just like looks better than a lot of crap they got going on putting out there now. So yeah, that was Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I also got to watch Love Lies Bleeding. This is a movie from A24 about a female bodybuilder, weightlifter, who ends up falling for a worker at a gym where she lifts, who is played by Kristen Stewart. Whew. Kristen Stewart. Kristen Stewart. So Kristen Stewart. I mean, it's a lesbian love movie. Not rom com. I mean, there's some funny parts, but definitely not like a rom com. More along the lines of like a maybe along the lines of a Coen Brothers movie, but not that kind of wacky, subdued wackiness. I think it took place in the 80s or 90s. Like it was set in the 80s or 90s, and I mean the sex scenes are awesome, but Kristen Stewart plays like a kind of very. She's not like a lipstick lesbian, I guess you would call it. Like she's, uh, I don't want to say white trash. That's not polite. That's not polite, Neal. But I think you understand what I'm getting at. I thought Kristen Stewart was awesome. The woman who played the bodybuilder was pretty cool too. They did this thing which I guess A24 is kind of known for. I don't know if these are like studio notes, if this is their influence, or it's just like they like that style of movie, and so that's why you keep seeing it. But they take these stories that are not, how do I phrase this? They take stories that are not really like big budget movies, like kind of interesting stories for sure, but like are not, I don't want to say groundbreaking, but not next level in terms of like this other element or force, or I'm trying to think of the word for it. But so they take these stories that kind of don't have that, but then they sprinkle in a lot of these, like, I don't want to say supernatural elements, but these kind of cinematic elements, not otherworldly, but I'll use the word supernatural, like movie magic type stuff. They sprinkle that onto what is otherwise like a more of a real life story, drama story. Like I don't want to say sci-fi element, but a mystical, magical, fantastical element. Like an example would be, I don't know if Everything Everywhere All at Once is a good example, but Beef, that series on Netflix with is it Amy Wong? Ali Wong. There was an episode, I think it was like the pinup ultimate episode, like they're in they somehow are, again, road rage. It's stems from a road rage incident. They end up getting another road rage incident. These two, I think it's Steve Young and Ali Wong, get into another road rage incident in like the hills or near canyons or whatever, the desert. Crash, cars won't, cars are fucked, and like they can't, and so that episode ends where it looks like they're going to die or something like that in the desert. And then the next episode opens with like, we're going to have these two crows. Like up until this point, there hasn't been any kind of indication of anything fantastical or otherworldly or supernatural happening. That kind of element, right? It's pretty, real storylines. So the next episode opens with these, and it's the shot is of two crows, and they're talking to each other. Now this is not like they didn't position it as, okay, these. I mean, they did end up eating some, like Steve Young and Amy and Ali Wong were starving, so they did end up eating berries that made them hallucinate. But so that was part of it. But like then it was like, we're not going to show you them looking at these crows and imagine them talking. We're just going to show you the crows talking to each other. And it's like, there's no, like, this is not part of the hallucination or the trip that they went on because they ate the berries. Like, this is just feels random and out of like whatever. I should give so many more examples, and I'm not. But so like in Love Lies Bleeding, they make it a habit of, we're going to show almost every scene with the bodybuilder, female bodybuilder, ends with her like flexing, and her muscles appear to be like growing at a ridiculous rate or something like that, where she's just getting bigger, and it's just like it doesn't look natural, but it looks, how do I put it? It looks real, but it's like, that's not natural. You shouldn't be able to, like, why is it like pulsating or throbbing or, stuff like that. And then of course, like towards the end, I'll spoil a scene here. And like the climactic scene, she grows to a ridiculous size seemingly out of nowhere, where it's like, okay, she's now like the 50-foot tall woman. Attack of the 50-foot cheerleader. Like, she's now the 50-foot woman, and that's how she's able to defeat the antagonist, the villain, at the end. And it was just like, it was such a hard left turn, but not the hardest of hard left turns, because I feel like it was a payoff, and it did kind of have a setup. Like, the setups were, we're going to show you these close-ups of her muscles looking like they're like bulging almost unnaturally, like magically bulging. And so that's why it's not a big leap that all of a sudden she's 50 feet tall. What? Okay. So still a great movie. I mean, I liked it. It kind of had similar beats to an after school special in a way, where it's like, you can't keep doing these steroids, because obviously it's the 90s or 80s, and like everyone's doing steroids. And so Kristen Stewart introduces the bodybuilder to steroids. And so, she ends up taking the steroids, and then of course abusing the steroids, and it ultimately fucks up her life and her relationship with Kristen Stewart. Wild that, obviously she has, we talked about road rage, and now there's roid rage. Oh, mama. Neal, you done it again. So yeah, this one's roid rage, whereas beef was road rage. Roid rage, like, pretty hardcore graphic stuff, where it's like, I'm going to headbutt you, and like, we're going to fight, and like, but yet they still gravitate towards each other, and they still have this thing for each other. It's just like, God, love that. Not so much the headbutting, but more of like the fact that you can, have that kind of conflict and still come back around and still have that for each other. It just feels like anytime I've gotten into any kind of, I've never gotten to a physical altercation with any of my girlfriends or wife, not wives, but there definitely have been arguments that have gotten that maybe gotten a little loud, or maybe gotten to a place where you don't want it to go. But ultimately, it's like the relationship, I almost feel like the relationship forever changed after that. Like, earlier on when I was younger, I would always be like, oh, well, that's that. We had a fight, so we have to end it. And then, trying to come to grips with the fact that, like, oh no, you have to learn how to, like, argue in a healthy way whenever you have a disagreement about something. I can never like bounce back from that. So the headbutting each other, I don't condone that. But the fact that, you can feel so strongly for someone that you can get into that hard, tough, fierce disagreement, but then come back around to each other. It feels so foreign to me. It's like, I don't think people do that. Not in my experience. But yeah, it's Love Lies Bleeding. I also got to see Bone Tomahawk. Dude, I have had this. Came out in 2015? I've had this in my queue since 2015. I've had it for almost a full freaking decade in my queue. Anywhere it's available, I add it to the list. And then every time I scroll past it and I see it in my list, and I go, someday I'm going to watch you and enjoy you. But I get like freaked out. I get freaked out because I've heard about how brutal it is. And I'm like, do I really want to? I don't know, like, how brutal are we talking? Because I don't really fare that well with like bones breaking and gore, and like it turns my stomach. And I ended up watching the other movie that from that same screenwriter or director, maybe it's the same auteur, Concrete something with Vince Vaughn and Mel Gibson. And it was like, that was kind of brutal, but it was very long. And I was like, if it's anything like that, I don't know if I want to go down that road again this quick. But eventually I just came around on it. I was like, all right, fuck it, let's do this. And the reviewers, the critics were not lying. This shit was brutal. Some of the most realistically brutal scenes I've ever seen in my life. I mean, the visual effects, special effects, whatever you want to call it, practical effects. Whoa, dude. Whoa. And it's interesting too. It's weird because the movie kind of starts off where there was, for probably the first third or half of the movie, definitely the first act of the movie, I'm like, not like, what am I watching? But I felt like I was watching like a Western from like the 50s or 60s, or like a TV show, a Western TV show that like my grandfather would always have on TV when he was like in bed going to sleep, you know, like very like, what? This feels like, it feels like they're doing a spoof or a parody of a Western, and not even a Western movie at times. It felt like a Western TV show. And then they crank it up a million notches with like the action and the violence. Just like, whoa, dude. I mean, it's got Kurt Russell. And I mean, Kurt Russell is just so goddamn good in everything he does. I just watched Christmas Chronicles again. And if he is not Santa Claus, I don't think I'd ever watch that movie again. But him as Santa Claus is just tour de force, dude. Tour de force. And so he's in Bone Tomahawk. And I was like, I love that. They have, I think his name's Matthew Fox. He used to play, what's his name? Jack on Lost. He gives a really good performance. It's a little bit of a departure from what he was. I mean, it is a departure from what he was doing as Jack in Lost. But it was like a very kind of clean cut, debonair, aristocratic, kind of bougie person who, I don't think he was like a ladies' man. I don't know. I don't know what team he played for, but just oh no, he was straight. He was straight because he was talking about boning that guy's, or dating that guy's wife. But I guess peculiar is what I would say. You know, that same kind of peculiarity that you would see in a lot of the stereotypical gay characters of yore. But like peculiar and very like put together, like the world's first metrosexual, I guess is what you would say. That's what I got from Matthew Fox's character in Bone Tomahawk. And then they had the dad from Step Brothers. He was the sheriff's assistant, and he cracked me up too because he's kind of playing this guy that's like he's old, admittedly old, and so he's not quick, sharp. He's always talking about his deceased wife, and very sentimental and emotional, and and so when they head out with Patrick Wilson as the other character. Patrick Wilson, you might know from the whole like Annabelle Conjuring universe, the Watchmen movie where he played Night Owl 2. He was Aquaman's long lost brother in the DCEU. Says he done. He's done a lot of shit. I like Patrick Wilson a lot. But his wife is taken by savages, by the natives. And so he goes to track her down. He was injured at some point. His leg is screwed. And so, you're just like, okay, people are going to die. This is an R-rated movie. There's 4 of them, I think. And, so you have Patrick Wilson, who's like handicapped, crippled, like whatever you want to call it. He's down bad. He can barely walk. You have an older gentleman who's like not very quick, kind of slow, talks a lot. And then you have Matthew Fox and Kurt Russell. So you're kind of in your head like, okay, that guy's going to die first. That guy's going to die second. And lo and behold, like, you know, spoiler, two guys that you think will not get out of this with their lungs intact and their heart still beating are they end up making it. But dude, if you haven't seen it, worth a watch. Should you eat while watching it? No, I made that mistake. That was a big mistake on my part. So definitely don't eat, at least in the second half of the movie. But if you are fine with spoilers or if you already seen it, dude, my God, the deputy. So there's the sheriff's kind of assistant. There's one deputy, but I think there's another deputy or a deputy's assistant, a younger guy. He gets it the worst of any character in that entire movie. The guys are captured, or Kurt Russell's captured. He's thrown in the like a kind of a jail cell, makeshift jail cell. Though Patrick Wilson's wife is captured and put into a makeshift jail cell. The old man, I believe, is also in that jail cell with Kurt Russell. Or it might be in a separate one. And they bring out the young deputy, and they're so excited to see that he's alive, but it doesn't look like he's going to be alive for very long. He's buck naked. I think they managed to hang him upside down, and then they take a bone tomahawk, a tomahawk sword axe looking thing that is made of bone, and it's sharp as shit. And they just go right down the middle, split him in half from his taint to his top of his cranium. Disgusting. And I cannot picture a worse way to die. There are a lot of bad ways to die. That's at the top of the list. Kurt Russell doesn't get any. I mean, Kurt Russell gets it really bad too. Matthew Fox doesn't even make it into a jail cell. He's outside, and he takes a bone tomahawk to the skull, which that's got to suck. Is like you're sitting there. He I think he got shot by arrows, so he's kind of like he's sitting up against a rock or something like that, or whatever. And so he's like, "Leave me. I'll take care of things here. You guys go on." And so he has his gun, and so any savages, natives, whatever you want to call it, come to try and attack him. He's shooting them, but eventually, bone tomahawk, boom, right in the skull. That was nasty, and I was like, oh, okay. And that was not CGI. All right. If it is CGI, it's the best damn CGI I've ever seen. But Kurt Russell, oof, that was an awful way to go as well. That was not a walk in the park. What did he have? It was like a canister or canteen or something like that. It was some kind of object that he needed to hold on to. And the natives, they end up so they cut him open and they stick the object into him. It's like, oh, dude. And somehow he still has it in him to fight them off. And at least I think he killed a bunch of them before, his time was up. Ugh. Oof. There's a lot of wincing on my end. A lot of wincing. Oh God, that sucked. I recorded a 3-hour episode reviewing The Boys season 4. 3 goddamn hours. And for whatever reason, so not to get too in the weeds on this, but I can't wear headphones anymore when I record these things, which is both a pro and a con. Good in that people don't really look at this idiot with the over the ear headphones looking like he's DJing a retirement party. But on the the downside of things, I don't know how things sound until after I'm done recording. So like as I'm recording, I'm like, all right, it looks good. I see a waveform, audio waveform. So it must be good. So after 3 hours of recording, I stop, I play it back, and it's just like this, like, and I already have ringing in my ears. I have nasty tinnitus. And so I'm like, is this my tinnitus or is this the goddamn file? And sure enough, it was the file where it was just like this, or, something that affect the entire 3 hours. And I was like, I cannot put this out into the world. I'm going to get sued. So I spent 2 days trying to fix that. I was on chat support or customer support with Adobe being like, please help. And I eventually had to delete it. Not realizing that I had the video recorded and the audio from my iPhone, not great, but at least it's something. And I could have tried to enhance it. And I was so flustered that I ended up deleting the video. So I know how much that pains all the boys fans to hear that it was locked and loaded and ready to go. And I couldn't salvage it. And there was a way to save it and I didn't do it. So apologies, but The Boys season 4. I won't give you a 3-hour review right now. I'll just give you a 3-second review. It fucking rocked. It was so good. So good. Lots of great moments. So highly recommend if you haven't gotten around to that yet. What are you doing? A lot of people are saying like it was not as good as season blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. I still love what they're doing and I still like what the direction they're going. I have no clue how season 5 is going to look, like, because everyone splits up at the end of season 4. And there's some, Tommy technicality came out of me a couple times, nitpick Neal, being like, but why didn't you do that? And why is it that? Why? But overall, I think it was awesome. And then finally, damn near 2 years after my divorce was official, the proceedings have concluded. We're finally done dealing with the divorce and making sure that every box is checked on the marital settlement agreement. Finally, the quadro, which was the last piece of the puzzle, finally got processed. And I no longer have to talk. I hope that I no longer have to talk to that divorce lawyer because it could be painful, just like, and I don't know if this is, I haven't dealt much with lawyers, but this was somewhat painful in that every time we talked, it was like, I have to remind her of everything that's going on. I'm like, are you recording any of this? Are you writing any of this down? Because the fact that I have to keep tabs on all this and like, this is the first time I'm getting divorced. And how many divorces have you handled? Like, why? But so I hope I don't foresee anything else stemming from the divorce that I would need to reach out to her. Hopefully, God, please. And if anything did, I think I'd have to go with someone else. But 2 years. It was supposed to be done. That quadro was supposed to be done like 45 days after the divorce was decreed in June of 2022. It took 2 years. Woo. And having to deal with IRAs and transferring money between IRAs, I don't understand why it's such a pain in the ass. I don't understand why you have to fill out forms. I don't understand why there has to be a physical check and a letter and a form. It's like, this is my account and this is my account. When I want to transfer something from my savings account with this company and to my checking account with this company, it's literally 3 clicks. It's like transfer from, transfer to, submit. There we go. Why rollover IRAs require like a blood oath, a sacrifice, a prayer? Like why do I need to jump through all those goddamn hoops to literally, I was trying to transfer like $200. I was trying to transfer $200. It was from a 401k for a company that I worked for like 3 months before they had mass layoffs. Shocker. And I just wanted to get it out of that. Like, I just want all my money in one place. So trying to get $200 from one account, one 401k IRA account to a rollover IRA. It's just like, how is this so goddamn difficult? I'll never understand it. I understand you're two separate companies, but guess what? It's my account. They're both my accounts. If I have the login and password and I can verify and authenticate, like it should be click, click, boom. Great song. So yeah, that's my rant on friggin' rollover IRAs. And I dread having to do it every single time. Oh, I got to fill out this form and then I got to print it out and mail it and scan it and send it in and get a friggin' notary to sign. Like, what? Raise seal for what? Try not to take yourselves too seriously here. It's like, this exists. Here's the account number. Here's all the details. This exists. Here's all the account number. Here's all the details. I've given you all the details. I've done everything in my power. Why do I need to fill out a friggin' form? Why do I need a physical check? Why? Why is why? Dry, bud, dry. Prime Day was also in July. I had a massive Prime Day ordered. I ordered a lot of books thinking that, because I've read so many articles about like, okay, you need to get a good night's sleep. It's not good to look at your phone, to look at a screen, to look at your computer, your laptop, iPad, even your TV screen. It's not good. The blue light, blah, blah. It affects your sleep. You don't get a high quality sleep. You need to read books at night. So I was like, fuck it. I'm going to get so many books and I'm not going to turn on the TV at night. I'm just going to read books. And I actually did that for a while. From the time I received the books until fall rolled around and then production picked up. And it was like all the streaming services are releasing like certified hit after certified hit. And I'm like, I can't not watch this. But one of the books I got was Greenlights by Matthew McConaughey. Do yourself a favor. I mean, I guess if you're not a Matthew McConaughey fan or you can't stand him, you wouldn't be able to get through it. Page one, you wouldn't be able to get through it. But I'm a fan. I just like the dude, and I was awesome reading his book. I highly recommend it. I highly suggest it. Talking about growing up in Texas, he was the youngest of 3 brothers. So his oldest brother, I forget what he went on to do, but there was like an adopted brother named Rooster. That's just like, of course, he's named Rooster. You're Matthew McConaughey. He did travel abroad to Australia. Talks about like his experience there, where he like all he did for dinner, all he ate all day was a head of lettuce with ketchup. Gross. But he ended up losing he got down to 140 pounds. He's like 6 foot tall, I believe. And he got down to like 130, 120 pounds or something like that, which is just, it's like Christian Bale on the Machinist kind of level of weight. He talked about building like a tree house. He would steal lumber to build a tree house. His mother and father got married 3 times to each other. So they got married, divorced, married, divorced, married. And then I think the father died. It's like they got married, I can't imagine a world where I marry my ex-wife a second time. And I can't imagine then going through the divorce process again. That divorce process took eons off my friggin' life, dude. I'm negative 3,000 right now. So I can't imagine I'm going to go through, I'm going to get married again, knowing that it's probably going to end in divorce. And then I'm going to get married to her again. I mean, I guess that's true love. My daughter asked me the other day, what's true love? Like, was mommy your true love? And I was like, well, yeah, she was. And she's like, but you guys aren't together anymore. So is that true love? And I was like, now you got me thinking. the brain is working overtime trying to process what you just asked me. Like, I guess she isn't my true love. I thought she was my true love. So, but that, I guess that is your true love. If you can get divorced and married 2 more times to each other. Wow. But just insane stories from Matthew McConaughey. Insane stories that I really appreciated. I mean, the things he talked about, like, I guess this is fairly well known if you're into the tabloids like I am. You know, when he bought the house in Austin, he goes to the University of Texas Longhorns football game. They end up beating like a number 3 ranked opponent. He goes out on a bender. And then it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. He's in his house that he's purchased or rented. And he's naked playing the bongos. And so the cops, I guess the cops are knocking on the door. He's unresponsive. He's not responding to the cops. He's playing the bongos loudly, naked. I guess he was in the zone, he said. And so the cops come in and they rough him up and they take him out. And they were like, "Do you want to get dressed?" And he said, "No, I want them to see me. Then I'm, essentially he was saying that I'm not a threat, but like as God sees me or something like that. Like I'm pure and whatever." And then he ends up, getting released free of charge because the public defender and the judge liked him. It's like likability, kind of underrated. You can do some really foul stuff, but if you're likable, people let it slide. I mean, I can't tell you how many jobs I've had where it's like I've worked with some real grade A imbeciles who are incompetent, inept, and cannot do their job worth a lick, but yet they're likable as hell. And so, they get promoted and get a raise, or they're, invited to happy hour and I get the boot. Man, it'd be so nice if it were likable. So that's, if I could be anyone in this world, it would be Matthew McConaughey. He's just the ultimate likable dude. Public defender was like, "I'm charging you $50. And the judge was like, "Yeah, I was wrong. The cops, they're not allowed to do that. They can't just bust in when you're playing bongos loudly in the buff." He had some other crazy stories. The 2 other stories I remember are he would always talk about, he would have this dream, okay, where he's floating on his back down the Amazon River, is what he said. And he would look to his right and to his left, and along the shorelines, along the land, were these tribesmen, natives, I guess. And he would have all these animals in the river with him, climbing all over him. And he'd come. He would ejaculate. He would have a wet dream about floating down the Amazon River, covered in animals, with tribesmen lining the land. And it was a recurring wet dream. Like he had it once, and he thought, and I wish, this is why, I'm kind of getting, I think I'm starting to get back into dreaming. I'm starting to have dreams again, which is nice. But to have a dream and to be like, this means something. And he does this throughout the book where it's like that. I took that as a sign. That's a symbol and that's a sign that I'm meant to do this. Like this is how I perceive it. This is how I interpret this sign. And that means that I should do this thing based on what I just saw or what just happened. It's like, that's just how he lives his life. And I gotta say, kind of working out for him. I mean, his Uber Eats commercials are so dumb, but so funny. Like, "Oh, Jerry's eating rice." And then you see him, every Saturday during the college football season, you see him, he's on the field. He's on the sideline with the Texas Longhorns football team. They invite him on the panel to talk shop, and he knows his stuff. And if you read the book, Greenlights, this guy knows football. I don't think he played football. Did he? Maybe. but like big time sports bettor, like was betting on the Bills Cowboys Super Bowl from 92 or 93, I think it was. So like he bets on sports, he bets on football. Life, went to UT Austin, Washington football team. So like he knows his stuff. He's not this like, oh, I like the Royals. And it's like, well, what do you like about the Royals? And it's like how they compete. So I can't get enough of the guy. I know some people must be sick of him, but like, I love him. And like, so he has this wet dream about the Amazon River and decides, I'm going to go to the Amazon River. Problem is, he didn't know where the Amazon River was. And he ended up going to like Africa, where he just takes a backpack. He has zero plans. He just goes, drops himself in the middle of nowhere by a river, which, the Amazon, not in Africa, which he found out the hard way, but ends up like being with this tribe, living with this tribe that take him in. He ends up then having to wrestle or fight like this top fighter or wrestler in the village, beats him. And then the guy feels so bad that he leaves town because he's like, I've been embarrassed by someone who, an actor. It's always like a quote or like an object, and he assigns some kind of meaning or value to that object or that thing or that quote or that line. And then it's like that ultimately directs him. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, boop, I'm going to follow that now. So he went, and that's where he, had a come to Jesus moment, but an epiphany, a revelation, or something along those lines, a vision where it's like, okay, now I'm going to do this thing. He ends up having the wet dream again, the same wet dream again. And this time he goes to the actual Amazon, meets up with someone, talks to like a Sherpa or someone, and they say something that it's like profound. I mean, the whole book, interspersed throughout the whole book are like these awesome quotes and like his handwritten notes, pictures, candid photos. I don't know. It was a great read. I couldn't put it down. I loved reading it. The other story, so those are the wet dream stories, which is just like the fact that they were just not sexual at all. And he came. How? What? That's like some freaky stuff. The other story was like he had a dream. Was this another wet dream? I don't think this was a wet dream. Was it a wet dream? I think it was. Oh my God. It was like a different dream that wasn't sexual. Turns out to be a wet dream. He dreamed that he is sitting on a rocker on the porch of his ranch house in Texas. Big ranch house in Texas. He's sitting on a rocker on his patio, and he's watching as 22 SUVs, like black SUVs, pull up into his long driveway. And one by one, a woman from each SUV gets out. And was it 3 or 4? Each woman has 3 or 4 kids. And McConaughey's the father of all these kids. So he's a father to 88 kids, but he's not married to any of the women. he was so happy that all the women were still in his life, and that they were able to share all these experiences, and he's able to tell stories and have a party and enjoy each other's company. And the women don't fight with each other or are bitter or resentful towards each other. They just all love being with Matthew McConaughey, as do the kids. All the kids love being with their dad. 80 kids, 22 mothers, and he comes. It's just like, it's not sexual. There's no one's nude. No kissing. No, he just was so happy that he had this massive family with 22 women that he splooged. Unbelievable. So I hope. I mean, I guess I ruined it for anyone who hasn't read it, but I'm not doing it anywhere near the justice. You still need to read it. It's still good. And I guess that's what the meaning of Greenlights, the title is. He's like, there's some things that happen in life that are green lights. And I viewed these things as green lights, and I viewed these things as yellow lights, and these things as red lights. And I focus on the green lights. And the green lights have gotten to me where I am now. So awesome book. Feels like they eventually should be a movie, but I don't know if it will. Would be pretty cool though. I mean, he's only like 50 something. So there's still more to be done. And maybe that's, why he would wait, I guess. But so yeah, that was July. I went to see Deadpool and Wolverine. I have recorded and published a Deadpool and Wolverine movie review episode. So please go check that out if you haven't already. I liked it a lot in the theater. Pretty much loved it in the theater. It then was released on Disney Plus in mid-November, I want to say. November 15th, 13th, 14th, in that area. And I loved it even more, dude. I mean, it's growing on me like crazy. So I don't know how you can be a human of a certain gender and age and not have seen it yet. It's so amazing. And what I'm hearing is that Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool should be still involved. Like they do have plans to incorporate him and integrate him moving forward, which is good to hear. And I guess Hugh Jackman's Wolverine will still be a thing. Although there was a good reception to Henry Cavill as Wolverine in that one scene where he's going to the different universes through the multiverse to find the Wolverine. Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say here. That massive Prime Day order, it also included these Calvin Klein underwear. I've had some good response to the Calvin Klein underwear that I have been wearing, and so I ordered some new ones. And oh baby, they make the junk look good. There's no way around it. There's no polite way to say it. There's no civilized, sophisticated way to say it. They make my junk look good. The way that it's like sewn and like crafted, it's just like you don't need to be packing much heat to make it look appetizing or like look potent. But yeah, it does. And of course, no one sees it except me. So that sucks. It is a little tight around the thighs. I will say that. Sometimes I take them off and I'm just like, oh shit, cutting off the blood supply. I also ordered an Ancestry DNA test kit and it turned out to be 3 kits. Why do I need 3? I don't need 3. I didn't think it was 3. I thought it was 1. So I don't know why you would sell a pack of 3. It's like to give to you who? I don't know. And a Steve Madden wallet that is way too bulky. And it's so disappointing because I'm desperately trying to get rid of this. And I should just make a stronger effort, a bigger effort to get rid of this shark fin wallet. It's the second shark fin wallet I've had. My mom continues to give me shark fin wallets. I wouldn't be shocked if she gets me another goddamn shark fin wallet for Christmas. I cannot get rid of this thing. And it's so simple. It's just like, throw it out, get a new wallet. But it's just, life happens, So I was so excited the Steve Madden wallet. I was like, this is a nice looking wallet. It looks good. It feels good. And then it's a George Costanza wallet. It does not matter if you have a card in there or 2 cards in there. It is bulky as fuck. And it looks so stupid in my pocket that I had to return it. Rough. We also watched If. I think it was streaming on Paramount Plus. My daughter and I watched If. If, it stands for Imaginary Friend. It has Ryan Reynolds, Steve Carell, Louis Gossett Jr. in his final role, and John Krasinski as the sick dad. This did not get great reviews from critics, but everyone that has seen it with me or just loves it. Like it's a good movie. Borderline great movie. I like it a lot. My daughter likes it a lot. When we went down to South Carolina, we ended up watching it. with my family down there, my niece, nephews, sister, and my niece who's 11 and is going through. She's becoming a woman. I'll just say that. Cried like 4 or 5 times. I mean, I tear up every once in a while, especially at the one scene towards the end. There were a couple scenes where I tear up, but yeah, I don't understand the hate from the critics, you know. But that's a recommend for me, dog. If you have kids, or even if you don't, it's just a good watch. Ryan Reynolds is great as always. They have a bunch of obviously Steve Carell is a voice. Louis Gossett Jr. is a voice of a character, imaginary friend. But they have a bunch of other people that are also voicing imaginary friends. Like I think Sam Rockwell does, possibly Bill Hader. There's a lot of great voice talent for that movie. The actress who plays the girl of the sick dad, the daughter of the sick dad, who discovers these imaginary friends, does this interesting thing with her face where it's not like a tick, but it's just like it I don't know what she does. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like it I don't want to say unnatural, but it irks me. But I get irked pretty damn easy. So I hope she doesn't take that to heart, because who am I? But it was interesting. It was just very like very subtle things that happen with her face that it's just like, I don't think many kids do that. But maybe this is the sign that you are an amazing actress. Again, who the hell am I? So, one of the books that I got, I thought I forget what it's called, but I didn't do a whole lot of research getting these books. I was just like, there's a deal. It's highly rated, thousands of 5-star ratings. Got to be a good book in the realm of like, yes, I'm at the point now where I am Owen Wilson in Wedding Crashers after he gets dumped by Rachel McAdams. I'm reading a lot of self-help books. So like, I think this was a self-help book. It was just like how to not be resentful, or like how to deal with grief, or I forget what the title is. I could probably just look it up really quick, because it does have a ridiculous title that's like on the same level as Don't Jump, which was the title of the book that Owen Wilson was reading. Where he's like, I'm reading Don't Kill Myself books. Where'd I go? Orders? Yeah, I'm gonna go there. Let's go 2024. And then we're gonna scroll, baby, scroll. All right. It's even worse than I thought. Forgiving what you can't forget. Discover how to move on. Make peace with painful memories and create a life that's beautiful again. I bought that. And I got to page 2, and it was just like, oh, this is all about religion. This is all just quotes from the Bible. And like, I'm starting to see why your husband cheated on you and left you. Like you're just, oh boy, a little heavy on the Jesus for my taste. Hey, what works for, I'm not going to knock what works for you. What works for you works for you. Again, who am I? But yeah, it was just like leaning very heavily on religion and quote passages and quotes, and like Matthew 3:16 and Stone Cold Steve Austin 3:16. It's just like, I appreciate what you've done. I'm sure this is helpful for a ton of people. It's just outside of my wheelhouse. I am unable to take that leap for you, for me, for my family. I can't do it. I just can't do it. Which is tough, because, and I end up returning it, but I had a very lengthy conversation with my brother-in-law about like, once you get past a lot of the things, the sticky wickets in religion, like the message is pretty good. And like there are a lot of good messages. It's just like it's coded, and it's like it's just the messages. There are some good messages here and there. I'm not saying I'm going back to church, but I can get why church is so helpful to the community and for people. In spirituality and religion, I'm not shitting on it, man. it has a tremendous amount of value. I mean, and I think I talked about this with him, was like, when I watched Receiver on Netflix, it's like there's a lot of talk about like what God can do, and God giving me the power and the strength and the will and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, if you just remove God and be like, and God, and, or you say like, you replace the word God with like, just my belief, like my faith in myself, AKA my confidence, my drive, ambition, determination. Like if you just replace God with that, like, oh, okay, I get it. Like that's how you got to just think positive. You got to believe. So yeah, I had to return it though. It's just like, this is a little much, a little too much. I'm not saying it doesn't have value or worth at all. I just think for me, this is not going to crack the case. This is not going to unlock something within me. I'm on page 10 and I want to jump out a window. Again, has an audience, a target audience. And I'm sure that I appreciate it. And there's, it's probably done wonders for a ton of people, just not for this asshole. Some other books I got: Discipline is Destiny, The Power of Self-Control. Unfuck yourself, get out of your head and into your life, break free from self-sabotage. I started reading that one and it was all right. It's basically like acknowledging that a lot of self-help books are like positive affirmations and blah, blah, blah. It's like, this is kind of taking a different route. It's just, it's almost like a wolf in sheep's clothing to a certain degree. It's like, it's the same core message, just in a different wrapping and a different packaging. It's like, instead of saying, I'm a winner, you're saying like, I'm not a loser, or something like something along those lines. Like, I don't know. Maybe I should start picking it back up on that, but I don't think it's really saying anything new per se. It's just saying it in a different way, in a new way, I guess. Another book I got was Accessing the Healing Power of the Vagus Nerve. Self-help exercises for anxiety, depression, trauma, and autism. How do I explain this? The vagus nerve, I think it's in the neck. And like, if you watch like, if you're a football fan like I am, you'll see, I think Dalton Schultz wears one. There's like a collar that some of the players wear that apparently like hits or triggers or sparks the vagus nerve. And it can, you can, supposedly it'll help you recover faster, and it helps your body work better and heal better, I guess. I don't know. But I'm going to use that to get over to get over all my little quibbles, to get over all my hang-ups and shit. So that should be interesting. I'm like 99% sure that's what a vagus nerve is. If it isn't, interesting little detour we just took. Another book I got was The Mind-Gut Connection, How the Hidden Conversation Within Our Bodies Impacts Our Mood, Our Choices, and Overall Health. So that should be interesting. And then Never Split the Difference, Negotiating as If Your Life Depended on It, Unlock Your Persuasion, Potential, and Professional and Personal Life. So, God, these are some long-ass titles. But it's like title and then kind of like subtitle, logline, descriptor. So, yeah, I suck at negotiating, dude. I really suck at negotiating. There's no way. There's just no other way to put it. I've like, anytime I even like trying to ask for like a 3% raise, like not even the cost of living. Like it's a major reason why I got kind of upset with the last job was like, I'm working my ass off thinking like, oh, I've opened their eyes to the possibilities, and like I've shown them so much. I've done so much for the app and for the content and all that stuff. And like, I think I'm worth this. This is the value I'm bringing. And then it was just like, no, that's their policy. It's capped at 3%. I'm just like, how do I negotiate? No, 5%. No, you're not going to, nope, you're not going to get it. So, and also like when it came to, I think buying a house, because I was still on the market at that point, that was like, oh, maybe if I can learn how to negotiate, I can get these people to actually accept the listing price. And that's what I call full circle, people. Here we go. So that's the episode. Obviously didn't get through August, September, October, or November. So try and get to that tomorrow morning, Thursday morning, and then maybe Friday morning. We can crank that out and get that into your ear canals. Do a little swimmies in your ear canals. But for now, that's July. That's all of July. There's nothing much to say other than the Olympics started, and I didn't even really watch it at the beginning. But that's on me. I will say I almost made an offer on a house in Hamilton. I mentioned that at the beginning, and I'm going to leave off at that. And that's like my cliffhanger, even though I'm pretty sure you know what happened. You can put 2 and 2 together. You can do the math. I believe in you. So, yeah, almost made an offer for a house. How life would be in a weird place if I actually did and went through. Whoa. I don't know what I'd do with myself. So, but why didn't it go through? Stay tuned because August is the doozy. As always, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Until next time, which will be here sooner than you think. Okay. Adios, muchachos.